Imagine that you are looking back at your life, not from today, but from its very end. The noise of the world has faded, the rush is gone, and all that remains is silence and memory. Now ask yourself something honest. What will hurt more when that moment comes? The things you tried and failed at, or the things you never tried at all? Most people assume failure is the worst outcome in life. We are taught to avoid it, to fear it, to protect ourselves from it. But failure is not the heaviest burden a human carries. Regret is. Because failure has an ending. Regret does not. Failure says, this didn't work. Regret says, you never even tried. And that difference changes everything. When you fail at something, life gives you closure. You take the risk, you see the result, you move forward. But when you avoid the risk, your mind refuses to let it go. It keeps replaying possibilities that never existed. What if I had tried? What if I had been braver? What if I had said yes? Psychologists have studied regret for decades, and one pattern appears again and again. When people are young, their biggest regrets are actions they took, mistakes, bad decisions, failures. But as people grow older, something shifts. The regrets change. They become about inaction. Not what they did, but what they didn't do. The job they never applied for. The relationship they never pursued. The dream they kept postponing. The words they never said. And slowly, life becomes a collection of unopened doors. At first, fear feels like protection. It convinces you that staying safe is smart, that avoiding risk is wisdom. But over time, that same safety becomes a cage. Because life does not punish only bad decisions. It also punishes absence of decisions. Think of two people. One takes a risk, it fails, they lose money, they feel embarrassed, but they learn, and they move on. The other person never takes the risk, never fails, never loses. From the outside, their life looks safer, but inside something different happens. They are left with uncertainty. A quiet question that grows louder every year. What would have happened if I had tried? And unlike failure, that question never disappears because there is no ending to it. No final chapter, no closure, just imagination. And imagination can be far more painful than reality. As we get older, time starts to change its meaning. When you are young, you believe time is unlimited. There will always be another chance, another year, another opportunity. But slowly, you begin to notice something uncomfortable. Some doors do not reopen. Some people do not return. Some moments do not repeat. And suddenly, hesitation becomes expensive, not immediately, but later, much later. This is why regret often grows with age, not because people make worse decisions, but because they make fewer decisions. They become more careful, more cautious, more afraid of losing what they already have. But in trying to protect life, they slowly stop living it. There is another psychological truth here. The human brain is not designed to optimize happiness. It is designed to avoid danger. So it exaggerates risk. It amplifies fear. It makes uncertainty feel like threat. That is why opportunities often feel scarier than they really are, and why safe choices often feel more comfortable, even when they lead to long-term regret. But here is what most people discover too late. Pain from failure fades, but pain from regret accumulates. It does not stay in one moment. It spreads across years. It shows up quietly in memories, in thoughts before sleep, in moments of silence. The mind keeps returning to the same question, not what went wrong, but what was never tried. So how do you reduce regret in your life? The answer is not to eliminate fear. That is impossible. The answer is to change the way you measure risk. Instead of asking, what if I fail? Ask, what if I never try and I regret it for the next 30 years? Because one of those pains is temporary. The other can last a lifetime. And when you look at life from that perspective, something changes. Not all fear disappears, but hesitation loses power. You start to realize that the biggest risk is not failure. It is living a life shaped by avoidance. A life where you always chose safety over possibility. And in the end, the worst pain is not the mistakes you made. It is the versions of yourself that never existed. the conversations you never had, the paths you never walked, the life you never gave yourself a chance to live. Because failure ends a story. But regret keeps rewriting it forever.